Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 108. Shizun's Earth Soul. Moran followed him up the stairs in a daze, his feet creaking on the old wooden steps, and he couldn't help but ask, "You call him Master Chu?" "Yes, he was sent by Lord Yan Luo himself to take care of the establishment and is our honorable superior." Moran didn't say a word, but in his heart he was a little surprised. "Here we are." The masked man paused, stopped at a half-moon archway on the first floor and knocked gently on the hidden vermilion carved door. "Master Chu, there is an old friend of yours who wants to see you." There was a moment of silence, and then a gentle voice, like warm wine on the stove and soft hair on the pillow, came to life inside. "Is it that old man again? I told you, I don't want to see him again. Just tell him to go back." The masked man coughed softly. "No. Master Chu misunderstood, it's not him this time." "Who else could it be?" said the man inside, after a moment's silence. "All right then, please come in. The Nuan pavilion is plain but elegant and clean with tables and chairs. The furnishings are simple and cool, but the floor was covered with a luxurious carpet." Moran walked in, half his feet immediately sinking into it. There was a pungent smell of wild animal fur in the air. This scent was completely incompatible with the scene of the man pruning the flowers by the window. He wears long black hair, white clothes with wide sleeves, and scarlet flower buds trembling at the tips of his glistening fingers. Perhaps it's because it's the rules of the Shunfeng house. He also wears a navy blue mask of a ghostly face with hideous fangs and protruding tiger eyes. But even this mask, when worn on his face, was inexplicably gentle. He cut off the excess stubs and gathered them up in one place to discard them before turning his head. Moran's throat felt dry. The conversation between the masked man and Chu Wanning had just left him puzzled and vaguely unsettled, wondering what it was that the soul had lost. If it is its memory, so Chu Wanning might not remember him. As he thought this, the man set aside his flower shears and came towards him. Moran, who is not afraid of anything, felt a little panicky and a fine sweat broke out on his forehead. "Shizun." The man stopped, getting a little closer. Moran heard what appeared to be a chuckle from him. "What Shizun?" he said. "It seems that the young master has mistaken me for someone else." As expected. What he feared has come true. Moran's heart thudded and a huge boulder seemed to crash down in his chest, taking him into an endless abyss. He looked at the man in front of him in a daze, not knowing what to say for a moment. When the man did not respond, he placed his long white hand over the mask and gently removed the heavily colored ghost face, revealing a handsome and dignified face. Moran felt the boulder, which weighed 1,000 pounds, disappear in a flash. Surprised, but without the slightest doubt, he looked at the man with his mask off and blurted out, "Lord Chu Sun?" No wonder the personnel downstairs had mistakenly identified the portrait. Chu Sun and Chu Wanning were about 8 times similar in appearance, though Chu Sun was soft and gentle while Chu Wanning was stern and cold. But only those who know them well enough can tell the difference between them. Like Moran, for example. The man in front of him was none other than Chu Sun, the young lord from Linen City, whom he had seen in the illusion of more than 200 years ago, and so he called out his name without thinking. But the real Chu Sun had not seen him before, so he was a little surprised and laughed. "Ah, so you really know me?" Moran waved his hand. No, I've got the wrong person. "But I do know of you," he said, looking at the other man with some curiosity. Chu Sun had died hundreds of years ago, but had not yet passed on to the next life, and it was obviously Lord Yan Luo who had given him leave to escape reincarnation. Moran was surprised to see an ancestor of Chu Wanning's and found the matter very mysterious. Chu Sun nodded and said, "So, that's how it is." He smiled again and asked, "Who was it that the young master was looking for? Since you have come by up here, I will try to help. Otherwise, there are millions of ghosts in Nanttown, and I don't know how long it will take you to find them by yourself." Mo Ran originally planned to explain a bit and was willing to go back downstairs to place his request, but was glad to learn that Shizun was so enthusiastically willing to help him personally. He was still so generous even when had become a ghost. "Thank you very much, Lord Chu." With that, Mo Ran handed the portrait to Shizun. Shizun opened it up and laughed. No wonder the people downstairs had made a mistake. They really do look like me. What is his name? Chu Wanning. Mo Ran said, his name is Chu Wanning. It's a coincidence that the surname is also Chu. Mo Ran's heart fluttered and he said, could he be a relative of yours? It's not easy to say. To see the matters of the mortal world, you'll need to go the territory of the ninth king of the ghost realm. I have a life and death enmity against the ninth king. I am unwilling to ask him for anything, so I did not know any of my family affairs in the land of the living. Naturally, he was talking about the ghost king who had broken the barrier at Linen and killed his family. Even for a man as kind and calm as he was, that kind of scar would definitely hurt when pierced. Mo Ran thought he would be able to confirm the connection between Chu Wanning and Shizun, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. So he just shook his head and said, that's a pity. Shizun smiled and said nothing more. He went to a nearby shelf and fetched a gilt yin and yang compass and invited Mo Ran to take his seat. Mo Ran, are we using this to find him? Shizun, odds are 8 of 10. Mo Ran, why is that? For various reasons, such as some people's soul energy is a bit strange and it is also possible that they simply cannot be found. Shizun said, however, the latter's is rare. The young master should not be that unlucky. When the reckoning was finalized, the small golden needle at the head of the compass trembled and pointed north, but after a while it turned south, then suddenly east, then west, and finally it spun up again in a dribbling circle. Shizun. Mo Ran said carefully, how was it? Ahem. Shizun coughed lightly, looking a little embarrassed. It seems that the young master is indeed a little unlucky. Mo Ran. The truth is that Mo Ran's luck is often bad and he somehow knew that things wouldn't go so smoothly. He sighed, thanked Shizun and was ready to go back to the vast crowd and continued to search for Chu Wanning whereabouts. Unexpectedly, at that moment, the frantic rotation of that compass suddenly stopped and the needle pointed in a certain direction, faltering, seemingly not so sure. After a while, it pointed to a position, a little off. Shizun called out to him, young master, do wait a little longer. Mo Ran immediately stood still and watched the compass at the table with bated breath. The needle swung from side to side and just wouldn't stop, but it pointed approximately in one direction. Shizun frowned, what's going on? Mo Ran, doesn't this represent a location? It does, but it's strange. Shizun looked at the compass and his brows knitted deeper and deeper. It seems that he is in 2 different directions. Mo Ran was startled. How is that possible? As of the moment, Chu Wanning's cognizant soul is inside his corpse while his human soul is inside the soul-calling lantern. There should only be one earth soul left in the ghost realm. How could Chu Wanning be in 2 places at the same time? Shizun said, in any case, one direction is southeast and the other northeast. The compass might be affected by some spells, so the young master better check out both directions. Mo Ran was very anxious, so he thanked Shizun and hurriedly left Shunfeng House and headed east. After running for a long time, he came to a fork in the road and Mo Ran came to a sharp halt. Southeast or northeast? He held the lantern in his hand, his heart burning with anxiety, but after a while, as he looked at the lantern in his hand that held Chu Wanning's human soul, a vague and strange perception suddenly seemed to arise in his heart. He followed this discreet perception through the narrow streets and deep alleys of one pathway after another. The further forward, the more pronounced this feeling becomes. He even felt that the earth soul of Chu Wanning was invisibly summoning the soul-calling lantern on his hand, that he was being guided towards a place. Mo Ran eventually stops in front of an old 2-story wooden building. 6 Souls Sanitarium. He tilted his head and swept his gaze across the large, heavy hanging plaque. The black lacquer on the plaque had peeled off, and a large chunk of the red inscription on it had fallen off, revealing the rotting wood beneath. Moran frowned, a sinking feeling in heart. Those 3 words sounds very foreboding. What does it mean to be a sick soul? Is this the reason why Shizun's compass is not working? He pushed the door open, stepped over the high threshold and walked in. He soon knew the answer. Inside the sick soul's sanitarium, there are hundreds of beds on which lie unconscious spirits. A dozen ghosts wearing white masks pass through them, sending their spiritual energy to the laying souls. The so-called sick souls sanitarium is the healing halls of the ghost realm for souls who are lacking in spiritual energy. Moran sought out a ghost healer at the far end of the room who was coordinating the whole situation, arched his hand to him and said, "Excuse me, doctor." The ghost healer was very busy and said rather impatiently, "Grab the medicine on the second floor, line up on the left side for diagnosis." "Where can I find someone?" "Find someone to?" "What?" "Looking for someone." Moran showed him the scroll. "Has the doctor ever seen this person?" The ghost healer took the scroll and looked at it, then looked up at Moran again, his eyes seemingly compassionate beneath the black hole in his mask. "Your relatives?" Yes. His earth soul is badly damaged and is very weak." The ghost healer pointed to the stairs. "He is lying in the innermost compartment upstairs. We can't cure this illness, so we can only delay it. You can go and find him yourself." Moran was shocked. How could his earth soul be damaged? Who knows? The 6 paths of reincarnation are supposed to be extremely painful. Maybe his soul was damaged during his first few reincarnations. He was a cultivator in his life, so he may have been damaged by a demon, or maybe he went off the deep end and injured his soul. In any ways, his soul is not complete. It's no use to ask more. Moran said anxiously, "Then, what would the effect of damage to the earth soul be?" "The impact." The ghost healer thought for a while and said, "Nothing much. After all, only one of the 3 souls is damaged, so it won't affect his reincarnation. If there's really anything, it's probably just a shorter lifespan in the next life, less luck, or a weaker body." Moran listened quietly, and although he was quite upset, he was unable to do anything about it, so he just thanked the ghost doctor and headed upstairs. The layout at the top is not as compact and dense as the one below. Perhaps because all the souls confined in this part of the sick souls sanitarium were unable to be awakened, and therefore, they do not need much care. There was just one medical officer sleeping idly on a wicker chair in the foyer taking a nap. Moran didn't bother to wake him up and went straight inside. In the huge empty space, there were only about 20 sick beds, leaning on the red rosewood windows with a movable plane screen between each other. There is silence in all directions. Moran's gaze falls on the innermost compartment, where a half-moon archway opens onto an open terrace, the moonlight filtering in through a thin curtain and the breeze swaying. It was clear that there were more than 26 souls here, but Moran had a strong sense of where to go to for some reason. Perhaps it was the soul-calling lantern that led him along the way in the dark, and he headed for the innermost room, into the pure, hazy moonlit night. He raised his hand and lifted the curtain. The last piece of Chu Wanning's soul was indeed lying there. His eyes closed and his face pale, so similar to the body resting in Skyfrost Hall. Even though he was found, even though he had a chance to be reborn, Moran still could not help but feel a hidden pain in his heart and his nose sour when he saw his blood-stained, cold, and thin figure. He walked over and put down the soul-calling lantern on the bed. He then sat down on the bedside of Chu Wanning's earth soul and tried to gently hold his cold hand. But this remnant soul was different from his human soul. Perhaps because the spiritual energy was so depleted that the spirit body was so empty that Moran's fingertips could not touch it, and so his hand had just passed through the shadow of Chu Wanning's earth soul and landed on the white mattress. Moran felt bitterly lost because of this emptiness. If there was a slight difference. If Master Huizhui did not appear. If Chu Wanning's soul was more broken than this. If Shizun was discouraged and refused to see him. He lowered himself, knowing that he could not rest against Chu Wanning's forehead, but he could not resist. He closed his eyes and leaned over as if to embrace the ethereal spirit of the earth soul, however, it was a gesture of obeisance. Shizun. He overlaps with the dead soul, and the moonlight spills over them without distinction. Mo Ran sighed tersely and let out a long breath, but his heart was husting and heavy. He had seen Chu Wanning's body, he had seen Chu Wanning's human soul, and now he had seen the sick earth soul. Each time he saw one, he felt different. He knelt before the prone figure, his sin and guilt almost tearing him apart. He confessed before the earth soul, holding hands and pleading with Chu Wanning to come back. He tried to embrace the earth soul, but nothing could be caught, nothing could be touched, and suddenly he felt a boundless fear in his heart that this was the ending he deserved. He is full of grievances and sins, and his hands are full of blood. How could he ever again be in the company of his deceased Shizun and never be separated from him? Mo Ran closed his eyes, his eyelashes seemed a little moist, soaking the thin pillowcase. He used to think the gods had treated him poorly, but now it seemed ridiculous as a joke. It turned out that the gods had treated him well, but his heart was so thin that he saw everything in a dark light. He is no good. He was shocked to realize that he had taken that path of no return, and he wanted to turn back at this moment. He wanted to spend the rest of his life making up for it, and the rest of his second life paying it back, not knowing if by doing so he could get back from the very beginning. What Taxian Jun? What emperor of the human world? He wanted none of that. He just wants to get on with his life and be the decent person Chu Wanning always wanted him to be. Some people say that it's good to learn from one's mistake. But his faults were too much. He doesn't know how long it will take to repay them. Perhaps he will still be unable to get rid of this endless regret on the day of his death. After all, the marks drawn in the water can return to calm, but the wounds plunged into the wood will always penetrate the bones. Shizun. After a long time, dipping into the moonlight, into Chu Wanning's almost transparent soul, he said, his voice like he was coaxing a child, "Come on, let's go back." He straightened up and lifted the soul-calling lantern. The incantation was recited silently, the earth soul entered the lamp, and the faint sparse shadow soon sinks into the lamp core and dissipates without a trace. Mo Ran waited. But after waiting for a long time, the earth soul and the human soul completely integrated. However, after another long wait, there was still no development. Mo Ran's face suddenly went pale. What's going on? Wasn't it said that when the earth soul merged with the human soul, he would be able to bring Chu Wanning back to the mortal realm with him? Master Huizhui's spell, perhaps it has failed. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 109. Shizun's second earth soul. With the chaos of confusion numbing his mind, Mo Ran's hands and feet felt cold as he carried the soul-calling lanterns which had Chu Wanning's spirits downstairs in a daze. Doctor. Oh, it's you. What's wrong? Are you sure that the one upstairs is my Shizun's earth soul? The ghost healer was a little impatient. Of course I am, how could I be wrong? Mo Ran, reluctantly, asked, could it be his cognizant's soul, or what? The ghost healer tsked, there are only 3 souls in a person, earth, cognizance and human souls. I have been here practicing this profession for 150 years. If I couldn't tell these 3 souls apart, the king of hell would have told me to go to my reincarnation soon. Mo Ran pursed his lips and suddenly had thought of an uncertain possibility. Doctor, you have been practicing here for 150 years, have you ever seen a person who have 2 earth souls? Are you sick? Asked the ghost healer angrily. I don't think you're in your right mind, so why don't you stay here and let me check your pulse? Of course, he could not let the ghost healer check his pulse. Although Master Huizhui had cast a spell on him, if he was not careful, he would probably be detected. So Mo Ran quickly apologized and hurriedly ran out of the Sick Souls Sanitarium with the soul-calling lantern with Chu Wanning spirits in it. The sky in the ghost world is always dark, and to distinguish morning from evening, one can only look up at the sky. If there is a half-warm, half-cool sun behind the red clouds, it is day. If there is a cold moon hanging high in the sky, it is night. By this time, it was already night and the roads were getting cold. Mo Ran walked alone on the street with his head bowed, clutching the spirit-calling lantern in his arms. The more he walked, the more bewildered and isolated he felt. This helplessness and confusion had been with him ever since he was very young, and it made him feel very bad. He even remembered some of the people he had known when he was still living in Xiongtan, when the fire in the Jade Wine House had killed everyone but him. Counting the years, he wondered who he might meet if he went on like this. Except for his mother, everyone else should not be reincarnated yet. Then he thought of Xuemeng. He recalled Xuemeng's angry cry while he was trying to take the soul-calling lantern from him, calling him a plague. How are you deserving? How do you have the face? Mo Ran hugged the soul-calling lantern as his pace became slower and slower, then finally stopping by a wall. His eyes couldn't help but redden as he looked down at the gentle golden light and murmured in a small voice. Shizun, do you really want to go back with me? He didn't get any answer from the lamp. It just burned silently. He stood in place for a long time before he gradually calmed down. In this vast land, he didn't know where to find someone he can go to. Suddenly he remembered Shizun, and as if he had grabbed a lifeline, he hurriedly ran to Shunfeng House. When he got there, the Shunfeng House was about to close for the day. Mo Ran went to a masked ghost who was about to close and locked the door and said in panic, "Sorry, please wait." "It's you." That masked man was the same one who had guided him upstairs earlier. He froze for a moment and said, "Why are you here again?" "Sorry to bother, but I'm in a hurry, please." Mo Ran said, gasping for breath, his eyes bright and anxious. He swallowed and said hoarsely, "I want to see Lord Shizun again." Shizun was in the Nuan Pavilion looking at the haitang flower in a white porcelain vase. He was surprised to see that Mo Ran had returned. "Why is the young master back? Could it be that you didn't find your Shizun?" Mo Ran said, "I found him. I found him, but..." When Shizun saw that he was quite anxious and seemed to have something difficult to say, he invited him into the room. He closed the door and said, "Let's sit down and talk." Mo Ran was worried that Shizun might see something strange if he held the lamp in his hand, so he put it in his kinkan pouch. It is not that he thinks Shizun is an evil spirit, but it is better not to let the ghosts here know about such things as the living entering the hell until they have no choice but to do so. "Did the young master went to the southeast?" Shizun pondered slightly and said, "It's in the Sick Souls Sanitarium, isn't it?" Mo Ran nodded and spoke after a moment's deliberation, "Lord Chu, I saw him in the Sick Souls Sanitarium, but it was a damaged earth soul, unable to move or speak, and even different from other ghosts in that he was translucent, visible but not touchable. This is generally the case when earth souls are damaged." Shizun's expression was somewhat gloomy as he said, "Some spirits of the dead who have been stimulated or manipulated could have divided their souls in the process, and it will be difficult to reunite them again." Mo Ran bit his lip and mumbled, "The healer at the Sick Souls Sanitarium said that people with damaged earth souls will have some weaknesses in their lives when they are reincarnated. But the person I'm looking for has no such weaknesses during his lifetime, so I wonder if there might be a mistake." Here he paused for a moment and looked up at Shizun. "Lord Chu, can there be anyone in this world who has two earth souls?" Shizun was stunned. "Two earth souls? Instead of immediately rejecting Mo Ran's thought like what the healer at the Sick Souls Sanitarium had done, Shizun lowered his eyes in contemplation, thought carefully for a moment, and said, "I think that it's possible." Moran jerked his head up, his gaze bright in the dim candlelight of the room. Lord Chu, are you serious? Chusun nodded. Normally people have only 307 po, but I used to know a woman who had 2 cognizance souls. I would like to hear more about it. Chusun shook his head, the curtain of his eyelashes dropped and trembled gently. He was quiet for a moment before he said, it was too long ago, and now that woman has also sunk into the 7th level of hell, suffering from torment. Once Lord Yanlu discovered souls that had committed heinous and unforgivable sins during their lifetimes, they would be sent to the 7th hell where their souls would be slowly stripped apart. Hearing him say this, Moran became even more anxious. The light was dim, so he did not notice the hidden pain in Chusun's eyes and asked, that woman, why did she have an extra cognizance soul? When one is reincarnated and born, it's usually after their 307 po had come together. If there are more souls, does it mean that the extra souls would need to be gathered as well? It should be so. The woman Lord Chu was talking about. After she died, she was used by the 9th king of the ghost realm and was forced to go the mortal world. Chusun paused, the slender fingers resting on his knee slowly squeezing into a fist. In the mortal world, she devoured her own child. Moran suddenly remembered what he had seen of linen of 200 years ago in Peach Blossom Spring and realized that the woman Chusun was referring to was in fact his wife. That must have been the most painful episode of Chusun's life, an unforgettable pain in Chusun's heart. Could it be that Chusun have been staying in Nangtown and not reincarnating because he was waiting for his wife's soul to return from the 7th hell, reunite with her and go for reincarnation together? Moran couldn't bear to ask any more. After saying the phrase devoured her own child, Chusun seemed like he could no longer speak either. Even after 200 years and already being in a ghostly body, he still cannot suppress the trembling in its throat. He closed his eyes and continued. That woman's soul was torn apart and merged with her child's cognizance soul. After a long time, he slowly went on, so, the extra cognizance soul that she had was actually her child's cognizance soul that got stuck between her 307 po and then slowly assimilated and finally completely transformed into her likeness, making it difficult to separate. This is a person who, whether in life and in death, always tried his best to help others but endure his pains all by himself. Upon this realization, Moran grew even more uncomfortable. He didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only say, Lord Chu, it's all right. There is no need to elaborate further. I said this meaning to tell you that if there really were 2 earth souls of this Master Chu that you were looking for, then one of them should not be originally his. Moran ponders for a moment and asks, is it possible that it could be a case of one earth soul divided into 2? An earth soul dividing into 2 is possible, but in this case, no. Why? Chusun replied, a soul splitting into 2 halves is something I have seen, and that is another story. Sometimes, when a person is so evil and murderous that their 3 souls cannot bear it, the soul will shatter. But in such cases, only the human soul who is in charge of one's human nature will shatter and not the earth soul nor the cognizance soul. So that's how it is. Moran murmured. Moran felt that a soul that had committed the most heinous crimes and killed so many people when alive definitely had nothing to do with Chu Wanning but himself. He thought that when he died in this life and came to hell, would his soul be split into 2 and get what he deserved? Chusun added, what's more, if it really is a case of one soul divided into 2, then the other half of the earth soul should also be unable to walk and would have been sent to the sick soul's sanitarium as well. Since the young master only saw one damaged earth soul in the sick soul's sanitarium, then I think the other one should be an intact soul and won't be unhealthy. Moran was enlightened by this thought and immediately felt empowered. He hurriedly said, thank you, Lord Chu. Then, I'll go and look for him again. Good, now since the yin and yang compass has also pointed to the northeast, why don't the young master try going on that direction next? Though Nangtown is vast and numerous souls are coming and going, waiting to be sent down to reign. Chusun sighed. Moran saw the pity in his gentle eyes and knew what he wanted to say. There are thousands of displaced ghosts in the vast Nang town. Even if one knows that one has to go in the northeast direction, it is still not so easy to find a wisp of earth soul. If it is not destined, two people could be walking on a brightly lit street, almost rubbing shoulder together, but one goes to the west and the other to the east, neither chance to look up and completely missed each other. Needless to say, this is easier said than done. But Shizun has a gentle heart. So he just lifted his hand and patted Moran on the shoulder and said, "Young master, you have a sincere heart. I am sure you will be able to meet with your Shizun again." Shizun's appearance very much looked like Chu Wanning, and as he says this, tears flow from the candle and the flame of the candle flickers, making his face even more blurred. In this blurred sight, Moran seemed to see Chu Wanning's gentle face, as if he heard Chu Wanning telling him that he would see him again. Moran's eyes became moist and watery as he felt uncomfortable again. He bowed his head low and said in a muted voice, "Lord Chu, thank you very much." Shizun did not say a word until Moran turned around and closed the door for him. He remained standing there in a daze, his phoenix eyes glittering with astonishment. He had just seen what looked like tears in the boy's eyes. Ghosts don't cry. Did he see it wrongly, or? He looked back at the quietly blooming bunch of hatang in the vase. These flowers from the mortal realm were extremely difficult to maintain in the ghost realm, and even though they were carefully cared for, a petal still drifted and landed on the ancient wooden case. Shizun walks over to the flower and twists the petals, but the leaves soon crumble and fall to mush, crushed to powder and dispersed from his fingers. He called out to one of the personnel outside Nuan Pavilion. "Please come. Master Chu." Immediately a masked man pushed his way in and stood at his side. Shizun did not turn around, he looked at the hatang and asked softly, "Has that old man been to Shunfeng house again recently?" "No, it's the same as always. He comes once every 10 days with a hatang plant. He doesn't dare to enter the Shunfeng house himself and only sent them from a distance." "Master Chu, what's the matter? Is there something wrong with the young master who just came here? If that man dares to send someone to bother you, maybe you can ask Lord Yan Luo." "No." Shizun snapped back and interrupted, turning his head to smile faintly at his subordinate and sighing, "It's nothing, he should not have been sent by that person. Even if he was, the boy only wanted to find someone and it's irrelevant to me. But if he wasn't sent to the ghost realm by that man, then why should the young master? One sin does not involve others." Shizun, who looked as if he was clothed in snow, stood quietly by the flowering branches as he said, "Let him be." The streets were deserted as Moran left Shunfeng house and headed towards northeast. Using Chu Wanning's portrait with him and asked from house to house. But it was as if he was looking for a needle in a haystack. Most of those who looked at the portrait waved their hands, and some even avoided him without even looking at him. "Have you seen this man in the portrait?" "Nope, I've never seen him." "Don't interrupt my business. Out of the way. You're annoying. Don't you see it's so late? Roll out. Get out." "What portrait? I don't want to see." "Take it away. Take it away." Although all the inhabitants in Nang town are ghosts, their 7 emotions and 6 desires have not been rooted out yet, so they live in groups and gradually return to how they were when they were alive. During the long wait of 8 to 10 years, they would find friends and relatives. Or even a dead cat or dog, but in any case they will live as they did in the mortal world. So although they did not need sleep, they would lie down in bed when the moon rose. As night fell, there was no one to talk to, and even less who can give him information of where to go next. Still Moran persevered and knocked on the houses in that long endless streets to the northeast, where one by one, bowed his head smiling apologetically as he inquired. "I told you I was wrong, on second thought it doesn't seem to be the person on the painting at all, will you stop bugging me?" This bearded man was ready to rest with his ghost wife and children and wanted to close the courtyard door. Earlier, Moran met this old on the street and asked him if he had seen the man in the portrait. He thought for a moment and said that he had seen him around the East Market a few days ago, but his wife gave him a wink and he stopped talking immediately, as if he had realized something, and immediately waved his hand and said he didn't know. Moran felt that he knew something and was therefore reluctant to give up, begging him and following all the way to the man's courtyard door. The man roughly pushed him out of the door, pulling at the wooden bolts. Moran said anxiously, "Can you think about it again? Where in the East Market did this man in the painting went afterwards? Please." "I don't know." A group of ghosts around heard the commotion and looked at them, while the man roared at the top of his lungs, ignoring the fact that he was breaking Moran's fingers, which was latched on the door frame, as he fiercely tried to close the door. Moran's 5 fingers were caught so hard that it definitely hurt a lot, but he couldn't care less. He just held on, unwilling to pull his fingers out of the gradually closing door. He instead tried to push and break in with all his might. "I beg you, please think again, I just want to know where he went afterwards." Suddenly, the old man opened the door violently, ignored Moran's bleeding fingers and then pushed him out before barking, "I said I don't know. Get lost." End chapter.